The desert moon of Vereen 9 howled with a voice older than any war. Wind swept across dunes of crimson dust, slicing through the air like invisible blades. A storm was coming, one made not of nature, but of armies. Scout Thren crouched behind a shattered transport hull, visor dimmed to block the sand glare. His armor, scored with old scars and carbon burns, carried the emblem of the Vel'korr Dominion, a rising empire that devoured worlds, like fuel for its hunger. Yet Thren was not like the others. He was a Deathworlder, a soldier born on a planet so brutal that even its plants tried to kill. The Dominion hired his kind because they survived where others begged the stars for mercy. Now, as the army advanced through the dunes, Thren's instincts screamed. Something was wrong. The commander's voice crackled in his comms. Scout Thren, report status. Thren scanned the horizon. Through the whirling dust, he caught sight of movement, a flicker of light reflecting off metal. A small outpost, half buried in sand, clung to the base of a ridge. Smoke spiraled from its roof. Someone had already fought here. Commander, Thren replied, voice steady. Outpost ahead. Minor resistance. No major defenses detected. Good, wipe it clean. The Dominion claims Vereen 9 today. Thren didn't answer. He muted the channel and exhaled slowly. The sand carried the faint smell of burnt metal and something else. Acrid, almost organic. He'd smelled it before long ago on another battlefield. A human battlefield. The Dominion army moved like a living machine. Rows of insectoid soldiers, four-armed and armored in chitin plates marching in perfect rhythm. Drones buzzed overhead, scanning for heat signatures. Thren walked among them. His human frame a strange sight amid the alien ranks. One of the soldiers, a tall Corral officer, clicked its mandibles in disapproval. You Deathworlders feel fear now, Thren? Storm makes you shake? Thren didn't look at him. It's not the storm, he said quietly. It's the silence beneath it. The Corral hissed laughter. Superstitious humans. Always hearing ghosts. Thren's hand twitched near his pulse rifle. He let it go. No point starting a fight in the sand. Not yet. As they neared the outpost, the wind fell. The storm paused as if holding its breath. Thren raised his scanner. Inside the ruins were 7 heat signatures, faint but alive. Prisoners, maybe. Survivors. Commander, he said, reactivating his comm. 7 life forms. Small unit, requesting capture orders. Affirmative, came the response. Bring them in for interrogation. Alive. The word alive didn't sit well. The Dominion rarely wanted captives unless they were special. Minutes later, Thren entered the outpost's inner chamber with 2 guards. The door creaked open, and the sand spilled in like blood from a wound. Inside, the air was thick with smoke and the sharp tang of gunpowder. 7 figures knelt against the wall, wrists bound, armor cracked but intact. Their helmets had been removed, and then Thren froze, the insignia on their shoulders, blue and white. A broken circle around a single star was unmistakable. The Terran Expeditionary Corps. Humans. Real humans. Not the Dominion's slave-born soldiers. Not colony hybrids. Pure Terrans. The same people whose worlds the galaxy had once burned just to keep them from rising again. Thren's heart hammered. His throat went dry. He stepped closer, eyes tracing the faded lettering on one woman's chest plate. T-Eek, Mars Division. One of the prisoners looked up. Her face was streaked with dirt and blood, but her gaze was steady. You're human, she said. Thren hesitated. Used to be. A faint smile touched her lips. No one used to be human. You either are, or you're not. Her voice was calm, defiant, utterly fearless. The kind of tone that could ignite revolutions. What are you doing here? He whispered. Terra's dead. Everyone knows that. She shook her head. Terra lives in those who refuse to forget her. We're scouts, just like you once were, searching for something we lost. And what's that? Thren asked. Faith, she said simply. In ourselves. In something greater. Thren felt the air grow heavier. It wasn't the storm anymore, it was memory. The kind of memory that bleeds. Outside, the Dominion commander barked orders. Scout Thren. Report, are they enemy combatants? Thren's throat tightened. He looked at the prisoners again. Their eyes, all 7, met his, no fear, no surrender, just quiet, unshakable will. He turned on his comm and spoke slowly. "Commander, you need to see this yourself." Moments later, the commander strode in, tall, armored in obsidian plates that shimmered under the low light. He glanced at the captives, unimpressed. Pathetic. "They look half-starved." "Who are they?" Thren stepped closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "They're humans." The chamber fell silent. Even the wind outside seemed to stop. The commander's mandibles clicked nervously. "Repeat that." "I said, they're humans." For a moment, no one breathed. The alien guard slowly backed away, their eyes wide. Every soldier in the Dominion knew the old stories. Tales of Earth's fury, of wars that turned planets to glass, of soldiers who fought even when their blood boiled in vacuum. Humans weren't just enemies. They were omens. The commander's gaze flicked toward the dunes as if expecting ghosts to rise from the sand. "Withdraw," he ordered quietly. "Now, sir?" A guard stammered. "There are only 7, I said now." The army, thousands strong, began retreating into the storm. No shots fired, no victory songs, just fear. Thren remained behind, watching as the prisoners were left unguarded. The woman looked at him again. "You know why they ran?" she said softly. He nodded. "Because the galaxy remembers," she smiled faintly. "Then maybe it remembers him too." "Who?" he asked. She looked up toward the swirling sky, toward the faint glimmer of stars barely visible through the storm. The one who made them. For the first time in years, Thren felt something he couldn't explain. Not duty, not survival. Hope. And above the dying storm, lightning split the heavens, white, blinding, pure, as if the universe itself bore witness to a truth older than fear. The sandstorm had passed, leaving a silence so deep it seemed to swallow sound itself. Only the low hum of Thren's armor filters filled the void, a faint rhythm against the endless sea of dunes. The Dominion army, tens of thousands strong, was gone, vanished into the crimson horizon, leaving behind the wrecked outpost and 7 bound humans. Thren watched their retreating dust clouds fade, his thoughts a storm of their own. Humans, alive, real. He had whispered the word, and an entire army had turned back in terror. A word older than any empire, a name the galaxy feared to remember. Terra, the woman from the Mars division, still kneeling, studied him quietly. Her eyes, gray like the edges of a storm, held no resentment. "Only patience. You saved us," she said softly. Thren shook his head. "No, I just reminded them who you are." "And who are you, Thren?" she asked. "A mercenary wearing alien colors?" He hesitated. The question hit too close. "A survivor," he said finally. "Nothing more." That's what all humans say when they forget what they're surviving for. Her words landed like a blade. He looked away, scanning the wreckage for supplies just to escape her gaze. Metal, sand, silence. But beneath it all, something else. Curiosity. The part of him that had always refused to die. He cut their bonds. The rope snapped with a hiss from his plasma knife. None of them moved right away. "You're free," Thren said. "Go before they come back. And you?" asked one of the men, voice rough from thirst. Thren paused. "They'll brand me a traitor anyway." The man smiled faintly. "Then maybe you should come with us." They moved cautiously through the dunes, the sun like a molten coin above their heads. Every step sank into dust that clung like memory. Their ship had crashed somewhere to the east, the woman explained. The storm had scattered their distress beacons. Thren walked beside her, listening. She introduced herself as Captain Elara Voss, Terran Expeditionary Corps. Long-range recon. Her team had been searching for something ancient, a data vault buried beneath Vereen 9 sands. "A data vault?" Thren asked. "Worth dying for?" "Worth remembering for," Elara corrected. "Before the wars, before the burning, there were maps of the old colonies. We're trying to find them." "You're chasing ghosts." "Maybe," she said, "but sometimes ghosts are the only ones who still tell the truth." As the twin suns dipped low, they reached a ridge overlooking the valley. Below them lay a metallic structure half buried in the sand, its angles too precise to be natural. It pulsed faintly with blue light. "That's it," whispered Elara. "The vault." But Thren felt it again, that deep, Bone-level warning that had kept him alive his whole life. "Wait," he said. "Something's wrong." The wind shifted, a shadow moved on the far ridge, and then another. Snipers. Dominion scouts. They hadn't retreated far enough. "Down," Thren hissed, dragging Elara behind a rock as plasma bolts scorched the sand around them. The others scrambled for cover, returning fire with ancient rifles that spat bursts of blue flame. Thren switched his visor to thermal mode. 3 hostiles, closing fast. He moved like a machine, his instincts older than training. 3 shots, 3 bodies fell. When the last one dropped, silence returned, but it was thinner now, trembling. Elara exhaled, lowering her rifle. "You move like one of them," she said. "I've been fighting their wars for 12 years, Thren replied. "You learn. Then you know they'll send more." "Yes. That's why we move now." They approached the vault cautiously. Its surface was smooth, covered in strange glyphs, human, but ancient. Thren placed a gloved hand against the metal. It was cold. Then, suddenly it wasn't. A pulse of light rippled outward, and the door slid open without a sound. Inside, the chamber was vast and silent, filled with consoles and data crystals long dead. Dust floated like stars in the beam of Thren's visor light. Elara stepped forward reverently. "This is it, the last archive of the first Exodus." "The what?" Thren asked. "When humanity left Earth," she said softly. "When the first ships sailed to the stars. Before the wars. Before fear." She wiped dust from a console and inserted a glowing shard from her armor. The room hummed to life. Screens flickered. Symbols appeared. Maps. Coordinates. Ancient records. Thren's heart pounded. Images of Earth. Blue oceans, green continents. Clouds spiraling in white appeared on the wall. He had never seen it before. "Only heard the stories? That's real?" he whispered. "It was," Elara said. "Our home." Her voice broke slightly. "We were supposed to protect it. But when the galaxy turned against us, we burned it ourselves. Better ashes than chains." Thren stared at the image, unable to speak. He didn't know if it was grief or awe that filled him. Then one of the soldiers spoke, a younger man with pale skin and cybernetic eyes. "Captain, look at this." He pointed at the console. A faint signal blinked in the corner of the display. A transmission, old, but still active. "It's coming from deep orbit," he said. "Encrypted in Old Terran." Elara frowned. "That can't be. There hasn't been a Terran beacon in 2 centuries. Thren's eyes narrowed. "Unless someone wanted you to find it." They uploaded the coordinates, but as soon as the data transferred, the vault began to shake. Alarms wailed, echoing through the chamber. "They've tracked us," Thren shouted. A blast ripped through the ceiling. Dominion dropships descended, engines screaming like torn sky. The sandstorm was back, rising with the fury of the desert itself. Thren pulled Elara toward the exit. "You have what you came for. Move!" Plasma fire lit the dusk in blue and red arcs. Thren's armor registered hits, each one a hammer against his ribs. He ignored the pain. Behind them, the vault imploded in a burst of light, tracing the past once again. They dove behind a ridge as debris rained down. For a long moment, no one spoke. Finally, Elara turned to Thren. "You could have left us." He met her eyes. "I'm starting to remember what we're surviving for." She smiled faintly. "Then maybe you remember who to thank too." He didn't answer, but when he looked up at the stars through the thinning storm, he whispered, "Not to her, not to anyone, not luck. Someone wanted me to live." Far above Virine 9, beyond the orbit's dust, a beacon pulsed softly in the void. 3 words in an ancient code that only humans still remembered. Terra. Lives. Still. The night on Virine 9 was not silent. The desert breathed. The dunes shifted and whispered as if remembering footsteps from 1,000 forgotten wars. Above, the twin moons hung low and bruised, half hidden by sand haze, and between them, a faint pulse of light blinked once every 7 seconds. The Terran beacon. Scout Thren lay on his back against a cold rock, helmet off, eyes fixed on that light. It blinked again. Slow. Patient, as if waiting for someone to answer. A few meters away, Captain Elara Voss knelt beside a broken transmitter. Sparks flickered, dying against the night air. Her fingers were raw from trying to fix it. Power cells are cooked, she muttered. We'll need a fusion tap if we want to reach orbit. And where do we find one? Thren asked, still watching the sky. Nearest Dominion supply post, 20 clicks east. She paused, glancing at him. You know what that means. Suicide, Thren said flatly. Elara smiled without humor. Then it's a good Terran plan. He turned to look at her, the faint starlight catching the streak of dust on her cheek. There was no fear in her face, only resolve, more of the kind that didn't need speeches. The others rested nearby. 6 survivors huddled under torn sheets of armor plating. One of them, the young cyber-eyed soldier, stared into the fire, his mechanical iris whirring. Captain, he said quietly, why do they fear us so much? Elara didn't answer right away. Thren did. Because they remember, he said. They remember the siege of Varan Prime, the burning of the Orion Gates, the humans who fought until the stars themselves went dark. He leaned forward, voice low. They say the last words heard in that war were from a Terran pilot whispering into an open channel. You can kill us, but you'll never stop what made us. The fire crackled. Even the wind seemed to pause to listen. And what did make us? The young soldier asked. Elara looked at the beacon above. Choice, she said. We chose to fight when logic said surrender. We chose faith when the galaxy said we were alone. Thren watched her silently. He wanted to scoff, to tell her faith didn't stop plasma bolts. But the words wouldn't come. Somewhere deep inside, something in him stirred, something that had slept for too long. They moved before dawn. The sand had cooled, hard enough to walk without sinking. Thren led the way, scanning for movement. His rifle raised. The Dominion had left sensor mines across the ridge, tiny shards half buried under dust. He spotted one and crouched. The others waited while he disarmed it with careful precision. You used to set these, Elara said softly. That's why I know how to break them. He pocketed the detonator and kept walking. The sun rose like a bleeding eye, turning the dunes to liquid fire. By midday, their armor felt like a furnace. They rationed water, a few drops each, and still, none complained. When they finally saw the black outline of the Dominion outpost in the distance, Elara whispered, There it is. One more miracle, Thren grunted. I don't believe in miracles. Maybe not, she said. But I think they believe in you. The outpost was small, their one central tower, 2 hangars and a patrol of insectoid guards. Thren watched through his scope, counting rotations, timing patterns. Old habits took over. The cold mathematics of survival. 4 guards north wall. 2 drones. Entry gate cycles every 15 seconds. He looked at Elara. You're not going in through the front. Then how? Thren pointed toward the maintenance trench running along the ridge. Underneath, the team followed his lead, crawling through the narrow passage as sand scraped their armor. When they emerged beneath the tower, Thren slipped a charge onto the panel. The explosion was clean. Controlled, as more a whisper than a roar. They moved inside. Rifles raised. The interior reeked of ammonia and oil. Dominion soldiers rushed to respond. But Thren's team moved faster. Each shot found its mark. Elara's crew fought with the quiet grace of veterans who had accepted death long ago. When the last alien fell, Thren kicked the fusion tap free from a generator. It hummed softly in his hands. Their ticket to the sky. We've got it, Elara said, breathless. Then the alarm screamed. Reinforcements inbound. The cyber-eyed soldier shouted. Dropships roared overhead. The sand outside erupted under their engines. Thren looked at the fusion tap, then at Elara. You get the beacon signal. I'll hold them off. Thren, go! He turned and ran toward the gates as the first dropship landed. Weapon fire slicing the air. Each step was agony, but his mind was clear. The Deathworlder instinct, survive, and had always guided him. But now, for the first time, he wasn't fighting to live. He was fighting for them. The Dominion troops swarmed the yard. Thren ducked behind a wrecked vehicle, firing until his rifle overheated. Bolts ripped through metal inches from his head. He threw a grenade, then another. For every alien he killed, 3 more arrived. He laughed. A dry, reckless laugh that surprised even him. You think fear will save you? He shouted. You've forgotten who taught the galaxy fear. Lightning cracked across the sky. The beacon above flickered brighter, a pulse of pure white like an answer. Back at the ridge, Elara connected the fusion tap. The transmitter sparked to life. Signal stable, shouted the young soldier. We're linked. Elara's fingers flew over the console. She entered the old Terran encryption codes. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a voice, faint, static-laced, but unmistakably human. This is Beacon 7. Identify. Elara's eyes filled with tears. This is Captain Elara Voss, Terran Expeditionary Corps. Survivors of Vereen 9 responding. Do you copy? Silence. Then copy, Captain. You're not alone out there. The words hit her like a prayer. Not alone. She looked toward the outpost where explosions flashed in the distance. Thren, she whispered. He did it. Thren stood amid the burning wreckage, wounded but unbroken. Dominion soldiers hesitated at the edge of the fire, unwilling to cross. He stared at them through the heat haze, blood dripping from his armor. Tell your masters, he growled. The Deathworlders remember who they are. Then, as another bolt seared past his head, he looked up once more at the sky. The beacon shone brighter than ever. He smiled. You wanted me to live, he whispered. So I could remind them. And with that, he turned and disappeared into the smoke, a shadow walking between life and legend. Far above, Beacon 7 transmitted one line into the dark, echoing across forgotten networks. Humanity endures. And somewhere beyond the edge of the known galaxy, someone, or something, answered. The signal from orbit was faint, a fragile thread stretched across centuries of silence. It echoed through the transmitter, with the rhythm of a heartbeat. This is Beacon 7, identify. The sound froze everyone around the console. Even the wind outside seemed to hold its breath. Captain Elara Voss leaned forward, voice trembling. This is Captain Voss, Terran Expeditionary Corps, survivors of the Vereen 9 crash, 7 alive, requesting extraction. The static wavered, then a voice returned, calm, measured, human. Confirmed, Captain. Stand by for orbital scan. We've been waiting for you. Those words sent a shiver through the group. Waiting. How could anyone have been waiting for them? Thren, standing near the open hatch, frowned. That doesn't make sense, he muttered. They didn't even know you were alive. Elara turned toward him. Then how did they find the signal? No one answered. The transmission flickered again. Beacon 7 to ground team. Atmospheric entry detected. Dropship en route. 16 minutes. The crew erupted in relief. The cyber-eyed soldier grinned. We're going home. Thren didn't smile. He'd heard that tone before, and that perfect, precise calm that wasn't quite human anymore. You sure this Beacon 7 belongs to you? He asked. Elara gave him a sharp look. It's a Terran code. It has to be ours. Thren gazed at the transmitter. Yeah, that's what scares me. They packed quickly, gathering what little gear they had left. The air shimmered with heat as the sun climbed higher. From the east, the roar of engines broke the horizon, a sleek black dropship descending in a spiral of dust and flame. It landed softly, its hull gleaming with unfamiliar markings, and not Dominion, not Vel'korr, but not any design Thren recognized. The ramp hissed open. A figure stepped out, wearing armor the color of midnight, face hidden behind a mirrored visor. Captain Elara Voss, the voice said through the comm. Beacon 7 welcomes you home. Elara hesitated. Identify yourself. The figure tilted its head slightly. Commander Halvan Rook, Terran Restoration Fleet. You and your crew are under our protection now. Restoration Fleet? Thren muttered. That's new. The crew boarded the ship cautiously. Inside, everything gleamed. Clean metal, soft white light. Consoles humming with quiet precision. It felt like stepping into a memory that refused to die. Thren removed his helmet and exhaled, eyes scanning every corner. No Dominion tech. No alien residue. Pure Terran design. Efficient, elegant, alive. Elara's voice broke the silence. How long have you been out here? Rook glanced back. Since the fall, 2 centuries of silence. Waiting for the signal to awaken. Awaken? Thren repeated. Rook nodded slowly. Terra left more than ships behind. She left a will. A network buried across the stars, sleeping until one of us came back. The words hung in the air like prophecy. The ship rose smoothly through the atmosphere. Through the viewport, the desert shrank into golden mist. Above them, The stars spread wide, endless, sharp, and cold. And there it was, Beacon 7, a vast ring-shaped station orbiting Vereen 9, scarred with time but alive with light. It looked both ancient and impossibly advanced. Human. Yet something more. Elara's eyes shone. We did it. We actually did it. Thren said nothing. His chest tightened as the ship approached the docking bay. He'd fought under 1,000 flags, seen empires rise and rot. But this place stirred something older, deeper. For the first time in years, he felt small. The docking clamps locked with a heavy thud. The doors opened to reveal rows of Terran soldiers, or at least, they looked like soldiers. Their movements were too precise. Their silence too complete. Elara frowned. Are they synthetic? Rook said. Human design. Memory-linked sentinels. They protect what remains. Thren stepped forward, uneasy. You're telling me humans built machines to guard their ghosts? Rook's visor tilted toward him. Ghosts keep the living honest, Elara. And Thren exchanged a look. There was reverence. In Rook's tone, almost worship. They walked through the station's corridors. Every wall bore the same symbol, the Terran star encircled by wings of light. At the core of the station stood a great dome, filled with holographic archives, flickering, images of Earth, Mars, Luna, and names carved in light, to those who remembered. Elara's breath caught. This is a memorial. Rook's voice softened, and a warning. Humanity was never destroyed, Captain. We scattered. We hid, we endured, and when the time comes, we rise again. Thren stared at the endless wall of names. You've been waiting for a signal. What happens now that you've found it? Rook turned, the visor reflecting the dome's glow. Now, Deathworlder, we remind the galaxy why they were right to fear us. Elara frowned. You plan to start another war? Not a war, Rook said. A reckoning. The Dominion believes Terra died. We will show them she remembers. Thren stepped closer. You think vengeance will save us? Rook's voice lowered. You think submission will? The silence between them crackled like static. Then from behind, the cyber-eyed soldier spoke. If we're fighting again, we should know what we're fighting for. Elara turned to him slowly. We fight for what was lost, and not to destroy but to prove we still exist. Rook nodded once. The fleet will depart soon. You all have a choice. Remain on Beacon 7 or join the Restoration. Thren's jaw tightened. I've fought too many wars for others. I won't fight one more unless it means something. Rook's gaze lingered on him. Then make it mean something. Later, when the corridors grew quiet, Thren stood alone before a viewport overlooking the stars. Below him, Vereen 9 glowed faintly, still scarred by fire. Above, the beacon's pulse synchronized with his heartbeat, a rhythm both human and divine. He whispered to the stars, to no one in particular, if you're out there, show me what I'm meant to do. And for a moment, just a breath, the beacon flared brighter, as if the universe itself had heard. Thren smiled faintly. Not luck, he murmured. Never was. The hangar of Beacon 7 stretched into infinity, rows upon rows of dormant ships, their hulls etched with ancient Terran symbols. The air was thick with dust and memory. Every vessel slept like a buried god, waiting for someone to whisper the right words, and that whisper had come. The lights flickered once, then twice. Engines hummed faintly. Across the vast metallic sea, thousands of ship eyes flickered open in unison, awakening after centuries of stillness. Fleet systems online, echoed a voice through the station. Awaiting command authorization. Captain Elara. Voss stood on the observation deck, breath shallow, eyes reflecting the awakening light. They actually built all this, she whispered. Not just ships, an entire resurrection. Beside her, Thren leaned on the railing, gaze hard. This isn't resurrection, Captain. It's rebirth with teeth. Scene 2, the choice they stood in the command chamber, a cathedral of glass and steel suspended in the center of the station. Holographic projections of the fleet filled the air. Cruiser-class warships, drop frigates, stealth corvettes. Each bore the old insignia of Earth, Sol Invictus. Commander Rook faced them, visor gleaming under the pale light. The Restoration fleet has waited for a Terran signature to reawaken. That's you, Captain Voss. The network recognizes you as command authority. Elara blinked. Me? You carry a genetic key. Terra planned for this, the bloodline failsafe. When you activated the distress beacon, the system recognized its guardian. Thren chuckled darkly. So humanity built a doomsday fleet and tied it to a single bloodline. Clever, arrogant, typical, Rook didn't deny it. The galaxy took everything from us, Deathworlder, but they never took our will to return. Elara looked between them. Return for what? Revenge? Rook's tone was calm, almost gentle. Restoration, justice, memory. Call it what you will, but the Dominion will soon learn that Earth does not stay buried. That night, Thren couldn't sleep. He found himself walking through the quiet corridors of Beacon 7, past empty mess halls, silent training bays, sleeping machines that once knew human laughter. In the observation dome, he found a lone figure kneeling, a synthetic sentinel, its metallic hands clasped, head bowed toward the stars. He paused. What are you doing? The sentinel's eyes glowed softly. Praying, Thren frowned. You're a machine. All creation remembers its maker, it said simply. For a long moment, Thren stood silent, the hum of the stars filling the space between them. He finally murmured, If you believe in a creator, who made your kind? Humans did, the sentinel said. But they too were made, I think. The pattern is intentional. Thren's gaze drifted to the stars. You think all this war, fear, death, and has a reason? Even stars burn for a reason, the sentinel replied. Perhaps we were made to remind others of that. The simplicity of those words struck him deeper than he expected. For the first time in a long while, Thren whispered, Maybe someone wanted me to live long enough to see this. The Odyssey Reborn cut through the void like a black arrow. Stars streaked past the viewport, bending and twisting under the strain of faster-than-light travel. Inside, the crew sat silent, not from fear, but reverence. The silent verge lay ahead, an uncharted abyss where sensors failed. Compasses spun and entire fleets vanished without a trace. Thren stood by the forward console, eyes fixed on the distortion ahead, a slow-turning storm of light and shadow. Like a wound torn in the fabric of space, that's it? He muttered. Doesn't look silent. Looks hungry. Captain Elara Voss adjusted the controls. Beacon 7's maps end here. Whatever's inside that rift, it's beyond known space. Rook's voice came through the comms, distant but steady. Proceed with caution. If you find what we think is there, you'll understand why it was hidden. Elara took a slow breath. Engage entry shields. The stars ahead twisted, and the ship plunged into the dark. Space became chaos. Winds of plasma howled across the hull, lightning arced through the black, and gravity itself rippled like liquid glass. The ship groaned, alive, trembling, defiant. Thren gripped the console. How can there be a storm in vacuum? Ilara's eyes narrowed. We're inside something. A field and artificial, the sensor screamed. Numbers blurred into nonsense, but beneath the noise a faint signal pulsed, rhythmic, deliberate, alive. That's a beacon, Elara whispered. Human frequency, Thren frowned. Out here? Impossible. Everything about us is impossible, she said softly. The storm broke. Silence returned. Vast, wholly endless, and there it was, a world blue and green, floating in calm orbit around a dying red sun. Its surface shimmered with silver domes and light towers, but the architecture was ancient. Terran, unmistakably human. Thren exhaled. Gods. It's beautiful, Elara whispered. Not gods, just us. The ship descended slowly through the upper atmosphere. Cities spread below, but no smoke, no battle scars. It looked peaceful, too peaceful. They landed on a landing platform made of smooth, mirrored stone. Wind whispered through the silent spires as if the city itself breathed. When the ramp lowered, Thren stepped out first, rifle ready, no movement, no life, until a voice spoke, and calm, melodic, human. Welcome home, children of Terra. Figures emerged from the shadows, men and women in white robes, eyes glowing faintly with silver light. Not mechanical, but something else. Elara raised a hand. Identify yourselves. The lead figure smiled gently. We are the keepers of Sol, custodians of the last home. You are late. Inside their temple and a vast dome filled with light and stars projected on the ceiling. The keepers told their story. When the Dominion burned Earth, we fled beyond charted space, said the elder keeper, his voice like echoing wind. We built sanctuaries and hidden worlds. Here we waited. We learned to listen, Elara leaned forward. Listen to what? To the source, Thren frowned. You mean a god? The keeper smiled faintly. Call it what you wish. We heard something beyond science, a presence that whispered through the stars. It guided us here. It kept us alive. Thren looked around, struggling between disbelief and awe. You think God saved you? No, said the keeper softly. We know he did. The word struck something deep in him. He had seen death, chaos, destruction, but this quiet certainty was more powerful than any weapon he'd ever held. The keepers led them into the heart of the temple, an ancient chamber lined with glowing relics, human data cores, old Terran insignias, and a single suspended sphere pulsing with blue light. What is that? Elara asked. The memory of Terra, the keeper said. It contains every record, every name, every prayer ever transmitted from the old world, before it fell. The crew stood in silence. The sphere glowed brighter, reacting to their presence. Thren reached out slowly, but before his hand touched it, a projection flared to life. A man's voice, deep and old, filled the room. If you are hearing this, then humanity has survived. Remember who you are, not conquerors, not gods, builders, dreamers, witnesses of the One. Elara's eyes filled with tears. That voice. It's Terran Council Command. Thren stared, jaw tight. They knew we'd be lost, and they left this. Later, as the others rested, Thren stood alone under the crimson sky. He could see the dying sun flicker, its last breath stretching across the horizon. The keeper approached quietly. You are restless. Thren nodded. All my life I fought to live, to survive. I thought strength was the only truth. But these people, they survived through faith. Strength without purpose dies quickly, the keeper said. Faith gives strength its shape. Thren looked up at the stars. If your God exists, why let us suffer this long? The keeper smiled sadly. Because even in silence he teaches. Pain shapes the brave, and courage is the echo of belief. Thren said nothing, but something in his chest shifted, heavy and warm. For the first time, he didn't feel alone in the void. That night, the serenity shattered, the temple alarms howled, red lights flashing, a shadow moved across the stars. Dominion vessel incoming, cried a voice. They found us. Elara ran to the comms. How? We were hidden. They followed your warp trail, the keeper said. They bring fire. Thren grabbed his rifle. Then we'll answer with light. The sky burned crimson as enemy dropships descended through the clouds. The last Terran world trembled, its peace about to be torn apart. Elara looked at Thren. What do we do? He smiled grimly. We do what humans always do, Captain, and what's that? We fight back. The dawn broke red, not the color of sunrise, but of invasion. From the horizon, streaks of burning light tore through the heavens, followed by the bone-shaking roar of descending Dominion warships. The air shuddered. The temples trembled. Sirens screamed across the Silver City as civilians rushed into shelters, white-robed keepers herding them like shepherds protecting their flock. Thren watched from the upper balcony, jaw clenched. They found paradise, he growled, and decided to burn it. Captain Elara Voss stood beside him, scanning the sky through her visor. 3 capital ships, 2 destroyers, and a ground unit detachment. They're not here to scout. Thren loaded his rifle, the metal clicking like thunder. No, they're here to erase proof that humanity survived. Inside the command dome, chaos reigned, holographic displays flickering, officers shouting coordinates, the hum of plasma turrets coming online. Commander Rook's voice crackled through the comms from orbit. Odyssey Reborn, do you copy? The fleet is 30 minutes away. Hold them until we arrive. Elara's voice was steel. We'll hold the line. Just don't take too long. Rook. And Captain, if they breach the core, destroy the memory. The Dominion must never have it. The transmission ended. Silence lingered like a blade. Thren turned to Elara. You'd really destroy the last piece of our history? Elara met his gaze, eyes heavy with duty. If that's what it takes to protect it. He nodded slowly. Then let's make sure it doesn't come to that. The first Dominion dropships slammed into the city. Fire erupted. Across the marble streets, the shock waves shattered windows and sent clouds of silver dust into the air. Thren led a squad of keepers through the outer corridors, their robes now replaced by armored vests, faces streaked with ash. "Positions!" Thren shouted. "We hold this choke point." Dominion drones swarmed through the air, sleek, insectoid machines firing plasma bolts that scorched through stone. Thren raised his rifle. Eyes narrowed, he fired once, a clean shot, and one drone exploded into shards. "That's one," he muttered. 9 million to go. The others laughed nervously. Elara's voice came through comms. "Enemy breach near the east spire." "I need eyes there now." Thren sprinted through fire and smoke, boots pounding against broken marble. The sound of screaming civilians echoed behind him, and above, the Dominion flagship opened its maw, raining down burning metal. The east spire was chaos. Bodies of humans and Dominion soldiers littered the stairs. The air reeked of blood, ozone, and fear. And there, amid the smoke, a keeper stood with arms raised toward the sky. Not in surrender, in prayer. Bullets whizzed past him, yet none touched his body. The Dominion drones hesitated mid-flight, sensors flickering, aim faltering. Thren froze, breath caught. What is he doing? Elara's voice crackled through the comm. "Thren! Get him out of there!" He didn't move. The sight held him. The keeper turned his head slightly, eyes glowing like molten silver. "Do not fear the storm," he said softly. "The Maker watches." And then, an explosion tore the spire apart. Thren was thrown backward, crashing into rubble. When the dust cleared, the keeper was gone. Only his scorched medallion remained, melted into the stone. Thren picked it up, hand shaking. "Not luck," he whispered, remembering the words he'd once said. "Someone wanted me to live." Elara regrouped with Thren near the temple's central plaza. The air shimmered with heat, Dominion soldiers closing in from every direction. "We can't hold much longer," shouted one of the keepers. Elara turned to Thren. "We fall back to the memory chamber. If they take that, everything ends," he nodded. "Then let's make our last stand count." They ran through the streets, plasma fire burning at their heels. The white towers around them collapsed in cascades of glowing debris. Everywhere, the city cried. Everywhere, humans fought, and above all the chaos, the sound of hymns still rose from the temples, the keepers singing even as they died. The massive doors of the chamber sealed behind them with a deep metallic thud. Inside, the glowing sphere, the memory of Terra, pulsed like a living heart. Elara turned to Thren. "If they breach this room, you know what to do." Thren's jaw clenched. "Yeah. Blow up the only thing that proves we were ever here." She gave a small, sad smile. "History will remember our courage, even if the stars forget our name." The walls shook. The Dominion were cutting through. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Thren raised his rifle. "Then let's give them a memory they'll never forget." The doors exploded inward, Dominion shock troops storming the chamber. Their armor shimmered, their movements precise, merciless. The battle raged. Bolts of plasma seared the air, carving the walls with fire. Thren fought like a storm unleashed. Every move instinct, every shot an act of defiance. When his rifle overheated, he tore a weapon from a fallen enemy and kept going. Elara covered him, shouting orders through the smoke. "Left flank. Hold the—" A blast threw her backward. She crashed near the memory sphere, blood streaking her visor. Thren dove toward her. "Elara!" She looked up weakly, lips trembling. "Do it, now!" He glanced at the detonator, and then at the sphere still glowing softly, reflecting his face. The projection flickered again, the voice from Terra whispering, "Builders, dreamers, witnesses of the One." He froze. Then, slowly he lowered the detonator. "No," he said quietly, "not today." Thren turned toward the Dominion commander, a towering alien with eyes like molten gold. The creature aimed its plasma cannon directly at him. The chamber fell silent, only the hum of the memory between them. Thren stepped forward, weapon lowered. His voice echoed across the chamber. "You don't understand who we are?" The alien sneered. "You are relics." Thren's eyes burned with fury and pride. "No, We are humans. He said it like a prayer, like thunder, and something in the air changed. The memory flared, a surge of light so bright it blinded everyone. The Dominion troops froze, their weapons glitching, armor systems collapsing. The sphere released a pulse, pure energy rippling through the city, through the sky, through the stars. Every human emblem, every buried Terran beacon, all across the sector, reactivated at once. A signal. A heartbeat. The Dominion fleet began to retreat, ships panicking as systems failed. Thren fell to his knees, light reflecting in his eyes. They'll remember us now, he whispered. Elara, barely conscious, smiled. No, Thren, they'll fear us. When the smoke cleared... The city still stood, wounded, burning, but alive. The Dominion had fled. The stars pulsed faintly, the ancient Terran network awake once more. Thren stood at the edge of the broken plaza, wind blowing through the ashes. He looked to the heavens, voice quiet, trembling. If you can hear us, whoever you are, thank you. He turned, gripping the medallion of the fallen keeper in his palm. Not gods, not monsters, just men, who refused to die. The camera would pull back, showing the wounded world glowing beneath the stars while far away. The restoration fleet raced toward the signal. Humanity had spoken again, and the galaxy would never forget the sound. The city of the Keepers lay in ruins. Smoke drifted across the silver plains, rising like morning incense toward the bruised red sky. The once shining towers now stood half-broken, their shadows long and solemn. And amid that ruin, life moved again. Children helped the wounded. Keepers sifted through the rubble, whispering prayers as they lifted the dead. Even the shattered statues seemed to bow toward the horizon, as if in silent grief. Thren stood on the temple steps, face streaked with ash and blood, watching it all. He had seen countless battlefields before, but never one where victory hurt this much. Elara limped beside him, shoulder wrapped in makeshift bandages. We survived, she murmured. But at what cost? Thren didn't answer. He just looked, upward, toward the stars that were pulsing faintly, one after another. Listen, he said quietly. Do you hear it? Elara frowned. Hear what? The beacons. They're talking. Inside the temple, the memory of Terra glowed brighter than before, its blue light filling the room like dawn. The surface rippled, projecting maps, coordinates, signals, voices. Old transmissions from forgotten Terran outposts, distress calls, songs, laughter. Fragments of humanity echoing across centuries. This is Luna Station Alpha. If anyone hears this, Earth is gone, but we're still here. To whoever finds this, tell my daughter her father died free. Faith endures even in the dark. Each voice blended into the next until it became one endless chorus. Human, raw, defiant. Elara's breath trembled. They're all alive. Or, they were. Thren touched the sphere. Doesn't matter. The universe just remembered who we are. From orbit, a ripple of light tore across the void. The restoration fleet, thousands of Terran ships, emerged from hyperspace like a storm of silver wings. Commander Rook's flagship, Sol's Resolve, led the formation. Odyssey Reborn. This is Rook. We received your signal. The network, it's online. Thren, Captain. What happened down there? Elara smiled faintly through exhaustion. History happened. Rook's tone softened. For the first time, a note of awe. The entire Terran network just lit up. Every beacon, every relay, even the ones lost before the fall. You didn't just survive, Captain. You woke the dead. All across the galaxy, in hidden corners and alien strongholds, the pulse of humanity's return spread like wildfire. In the Dominion capital, ancient sensors screamed to life. The Emperor watched the holographic display, his scaled face twisting in disbelief. Terran signal? Impossible. They were erased. His advisor trembled. The signal is spreading across 12 sectors. Their message repeats the same phrase. What phrase? The advisor swallowed. We are the flame that refuses to die. The Emperor stared at the stars. rage and fear fighting behind his eyes. Then we will drown their flame in blood. But even he knew. Fear had already taken root. Back on the surface, the memory of Terra expanded, projecting a holographic image of Earth itself, blue and perfect, hovering above the chamber like a ghost. Rook's voice echoed through every comm channel, every screen, every frequency, to all surviving human colonies, to every outpost, to every forgotten world. We are Terrans. We endured. We remember. The Dominion's era ends tonight. Thren stepped forward, taking the mic from Rook's projection. His voice was low, steady, the voice of a soldier who had seen too much and still refused to bow. We're not gods. We're not monsters. We're human, the kind of creature that crawls through hell and still looks for the stars. If you hear this, don't hide. Don't surrender. Light your beacons. Let them know. We're coming home. The final words echoed through the void, bouncing from system to system, until even the Dominion couldn't silence it. In a distant mining colony, a group of alien workers huddled around a small radio. They had lived under Dominion rule for generations, broken, forgotten. When they heard the Terran signal, they looked at one another in silence. Finally, one of them, an old, weary creature with gray skin and trembling hands, whispered, "Humans. They still live?" Another nodded slowly. "And they believe in something we lost long ago." "What's that?" The elder smiled faintly. "Hope." That night, as the stars pulsed with the rhythm of the reborn network, one of the synthetic sentinels, the same one Thren had spoken to before, knelt in the ruins of the temple. Its metallic hands folded together. Thren approached quietly. "You're praying again?" The machine's voice hummed softly. "The Maker has answered." Thren smiled, exhausted but alive. "And what did he say?" "That light is never lost. It only waits to be found." Thren looked toward the heavens where streaks of Terran ships now filled the night like constellations reborn. "Then maybe it's time we stop hiding it." Deep within the memory's core, something new began to speak, a frequency no human had ever heard before, a voice, faint, ancient, not mechanical. "I kept you, I watched you, and I sent you to the stars, that you might see my wonder." Elara froze, eyes wide. "Is that?" Thren's breath caught. "It's not a recording." The sphere pulsed once, then fell silent. No one spoke. No one dared. Rook's voice finally broke the stillness from orbit. "Whatever that was." "It wasn't human," Thren whispered, almost to himself. "No, it wasn't. But maybe. It was the reason we are." As the sun rose over the ruined city, light spilled across the broken domes, and for the first time it felt like morning. The surviving keepers gathered at the temple gates, standing beside the human soldiers and sentinels alike. Together they looked toward the stars, where the restoration fleet formed a halo around the planet. Thren turned to Elara. "What now?" She smiled faintly. "Now we rebuild, and this time, we don't forget who gave us the chance." The camera would rise, showing the planet glowing like a tiny ember in the darkness, a single light among billions. And as the scene faded, a faint whisper echoed once more. "Humanity. The flame that refuses to die." The light didn't last long. Barely a week after the awakening of the memory of Terra, the sky of Vereen 9 burned again, this time from orbit. The Dominion had returned. Thousands of crimson warships slid out of the void like predatory beasts, their hulls covered with living armor and sigils of vengeance. Their engines screamed, cutting through space like torn metal. From the command deck of Soul's Resolve, Commander Rook stood motionless, watching the sensors fill with red. "They're not coming to reclaim territory," he said quietly. "They're coming to erase proof that we ever existed." Thren stood beside him, jaw set. "Then they'll find out why that's impossible." Far across the stars, aboard the flagship Kravoth Eternal, the Dominion Emperor surveyed his war council. His scaled hands dripped with the ichor of ritual. His crown pulsed faintly with bioluminescent veins. "They defy us with echoes of their dead world," he hissed. "They whisper their defiance to the stars. We will answer with silence," a general bowed low. "Their networks have reactivated across 12 sectors. The flame spreads faster than we anticipated. Then drown the flame. Burn their ashes again." The Emperor's claws curled. "If they believe their god protects them, let them call upon him now." Inside Soul's resolve. Chaos turned into grim purpose. Human engineers worked beside alien keepers and mechanical sentinels, welding, recalibrating, loading reactors with improvised weapons. Elara moved through the bridge, voice calm but fierce. "We can't outgun them, but we can outthink them. Use the sandstorms, hide our heat signatures." Thren nodded. "And reroute the plasma cores. If they breach the outer ring, we make Vereen 9 a trap." Rook raised an eyebrow. "You're suggesting we turn the planet into a bomb?" Thren looked at him without blinking. "If it saves what's left of humanity." Yes, for a long moment the room was silent. Then Rook nodded once. "Make it happen." Scene 4. The battle begins. The first strike came at dawn. Dominion destroyers unleashed plasma torrents that turned half the horizon into liquid glass. Atmospheric shields flickered, collapsing one by one. From the trenches, Terran soldiers fired railguns skyward. Streaks of blue against red clouds, every shot was a prayer. Every breath defiance. Thren's comm crackled. "Rook to ground command, the fleet's holding orbit, but they're dropping spores. Invasion pods inbound." Thren barked orders. "Elara, seal the southern trench. Keepers with me." The ground shook. Pods slammed into the surface, hissing open, releasing Dominion shock troops, towering creatures of bone and biometal. They advanced in silence, eyes burning with green light. Thren met them head-on. The desert turned into hell. Fire and plasma storms roared across the dunes. Soldiers screamed and vanished into smoke. Thren ducked under a plasma bolt, countered with a kinetic grenade, and felt the ground erupt behind him. His armor burned. His lungs felt like sandpaper. Through the chaos, he heard Elara's voice over comms. "Thren, they're flanking the east ridge." "We can't hold it." "Then don't hold," he shouted. "Fall back to the temple." They regrouped inside the ancient temple, the same place where the memory of Terra had awakened. Now it became their fortress. Rook's voice came through again. "Strained. Thren, we've got 5 carriers down. If we lose orbit, we lose everything." Thren stared at the memory's core, glowing faintly. "Not everything." He turned to the keepers. "You said this temple was built to protect the light of creation. Can it amplify it?" The eldest keeper blinked, confusion and fear mixing. "It was never meant as a weapon. Everything becomes one when survival demands it." He placed his gauntlet on the core. "We turn their own darkness against them." The synthetic sentinel, the one who had prayed before, stepped forward. Its voice was calm, almost human. "Captain Thren, the memory's power output exceeds organic tolerance. Direct connection will kill you." Thren smiled faintly. "Then it's a good thing I'm not planning to live forever." Elara grabbed his arm. "You can't, Thren, please. There has to be another way." "There always is, but not today." He turned to her, eyes steady, a soldier at peace with his decision. "If I fall, make sure they remember why we fought." Thren plunged his hands into the memory's core. Instantly, light erupted through the temple, searing, pure, unstoppable. He saw everything, every Terran colony, every sacrifice, every soul that had prayed for deliverance. And above it all appears a presence, silent yet infinite. A voice, not of sound but of knowing, whispered through him. "You are my witness. Burn bright, my creation." Outside, the Dominion armies halted mid-charge. The sky itself ignited, a wave of energy surging upward, tearing through ships, shredding plasma fields, turning their own weapons back upon them. From orbit, Rook and his crew watched in stunned silence as the entire Dominion fleet disintegrated in a storm of light. When the light faded, the desert was quiet again. Ash fell like snow. The temple still stood, but Thren was gone. Elara knelt where he had been, trembling hands pressed to the cooling stone. A faint hum remained in the air, and when she closed her eyes, she heard his voice. Soft, distant. "We are the flame that refuses to die." She smiled through her tears. "Yes, you are." News of the annihilation reached the Dominion Corps within hours. The Emperor watched the recordings in silence. The light, the destruction, the voice, even he could not deny what he saw. A man turned a god's weapon against us, he muttered. No, not a god's weapon, his advisor whispered. Then what? The Emperor stared into the void. A god's reminder. Weeks later, the Restoration fleet rebuilt the first Terran outpost in centuries. The keepers carved Thren's name into the temple stone. Beside a simple inscription, he whispered once, and the stars obeyed. At night, Elara stood on the dune, watching the sky, where the Dominion fleet once hovered, now shone a new constellation shaped like a flame. She closed her eyes and whispered, not luck. Someone wanted us to live. The wind carried her words upward into the endless dark, and somewhere far beyond sight a faint voice answered, and I always will. The war had ended, but peace. Peace was a stranger they barely remembered. Across the sands of Virine 9, the ruins of battle had become shrines. Every fallen soldier, human or keeper, was buried beneath glass markers that shimmered when the twin suns rose. It was said that when the wind blew right, you could hear whispers in the dunes, voices reciting the old Terran anthem. Elara walked among them in silence. The desert had begun to bloom again. Small violet flowers pushed through cracks in the glass. Life, as always, refused to stay buried. He'd hate this place being so quiet, she murmured. Beside her, the sentinel who had once prayed, now called Eli 3, answered softly. Captain Thren's legacy was not silence. It was motion. You humans call it hope. She smiled faintly. Yeah, hope. The one thing they could never kill. In orbit, aboard Sol's Resolve, the Council of Dawn assembled, the first interspecies council of free worlds. Humans, keepers, and even former Dominion slaves sat together for the first time. Commander Rook opened the session. We have done what no empire ever managed, he said. We've united not under fear, not under profit, but under something older, the right to exist. The Keeper Elder inclined his head. And yet, Commander, existence alone is not destiny. The Dominion's core still burns in the dark. Let it burn, Rook said. We're not conquerors. We're explorers. Elara stepped forward, her voice clear and certain. Then it's time to go where no map dares to draw, beyond the galactic rim, beyond the last horizon. A hush fell. No one had spoken those words in centuries, not since the fall of the First Terran Empire. Later that night, Elara stood on the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly before her, but at the edge of the holographic display, a single black expanse shimmered, no data. No light, just unknown. Eli 3 approached quietly. The region beyond Sector Theta 9, it said. No probe has ever returned from there. Maybe they found something better than data, Elara said softly. You believe the Creator waits there? She glanced at the horizon. I don't know, but if he sent us this far, maybe he's waiting for us to take the next step. The machine processed her words for a long moment. Faith, it said finally. An equation I still cannot solve, she smiled. You don't solve it, Eli, you live it. The humans built a new ship, Eidolon, forged from Dominion alloys and Terran ingenuity. It was sleek, immense, shaped like a silver wing. Inside its core thrummed the energy of the memory of Terra, what remained of Thren's sacrifice. Rook ran his gloved hand along the hull. This isn't a warship, he said. It's a prayer with engines, Elara, now captain of the Eidolon, smiled faintly. Then let's make it reach heaven. Before launch, she returned to the temple one last time. The sandstorm had long passed, and the sky was clear as impossibly blue. She knelt before Thren's marker. You lit the way, she whispered. Now we walk it. A small wind stirred the desert. The violet flowers bent, almost bowing. For a heartbeat, she thought she heard his voice again, faint but warm. Don't stop. The stars are waiting, she smiled through her tears. Aye. Captain? The Eidolon launched in a thunder of light. From the surface, the people of Virine 9 watched it rise, a new sun against the sky. Children pointed upward. Aliens prayed in languages older than memory, and in orbit, the ship vanished into the void, crossing the last horizon. At first, there was only silence, no signals, no starlight, just blackness so deep it felt alive. Elara stood at the command deck, the hum of the engines the only heartbeat. Report, Eli 3 responded. Sensors detect something, a structure. Massive, non-Euclidean geometry. It's not natural. Coordinates? Everywhere. The darkness began to glow, faint lines tracing across infinity, like veins of light under glass. Rook's voice was hushed. Is it alive or awake? Elara said. Suddenly the lights pulsed. A wave of energy hit the ship. No damage, but every system flickered. Then a voice filled the bridge. Not through comms, not through speakers, but directly inside their minds. It spoke in every language at once. Children of the dust, you crossed the edge of what was given. Elara froze. Who are you? The beginning, the witness of creation, the memory of the one who shaped you. The crew fell silent. Even Eli 3 lowered its head. You lit the flame, the voice continued, and guarded it through darkness. But flame alone is not purpose. Will you build, or will you burn again? Elara stepped forward, voice trembling but steady. We will build, and remember who gave us the light. There was a pause. Then warmth spread through the ship like sunlight breaking through clouds. Then you have learned what few ever do. To live not as gods, but as keepers. Before fading, the being left something and a burst of data. A map made of stars unknown to any chart. At its center was a single point. Pulsing softly, Eli 3 translated. Origin coordinate, Earth. Elara gasped. That's impossible. Earth was destroyed, or hidden, Rook said quietly, waiting to be found. She turned to the crew. Set course. The engines flared, brighter than any before. As the Eidolon vanished into the dark, the galaxy below watched the signal spread again, the human flame reborn, moving toward the forgotten cradle. From orbit, Vereen 9's children would tell the story, how a whisper stopped a war, how faith outlasted empires, and how, when humanity stood at the edge of creation, they didn't bow, they believed. The stars pulsed one last time, and somewhere beyond sight, the voice of Thren echoed across eternity. They're humans. It had been 3 years since Eidolon vanished beyond the last horizon. The galaxy had changed in its wake. Empires fallen, alliances forged, and the word human spoken again with awe rather than fear. But the ship itself had not been seen since, until now. At the edge of known space, a lone transmission cut through static, faint but undeniable. This is Captain Elara of the Terran vessel Eidolon. We found it. The Eidolon emerged from warp into a system swallowed by darkness. No sunlight, no radiation, just drifting ice, ruins of planets long dead and one silent. Shattered moon Eli 3 adjusted the visual filters. This is the Sol system, or what's left of it. Rook's hands trembled on the console. Then that means... Yes, Elara whispered. Earth. The ship's scanners finally locked onto a signal. Faint. Buried deep beneath layers of cosmic dust. Coordinates. Solda 3. The planet below was unrecognizable. The oceans had frozen into mountains of crystal. The cities were gone. Erased by time and entropy. Even the sky had forgotten its color. But as they descended through the atmosphere, something pulsed deep within the planet's core, like a heartbeat. How? Elara murmured. After millennia, something still alive down there? Eli 3 analyzed the signal. Not alive. Preserved. Then let's wake it. They landed amid what had once been the Himalayas, now towers of ice and ash. At the base of a ruined mountain, scanners revealed a chamber, carved into its stone door, still visible through millennia of decay, were words in ancient Terran script. In silence we endure. In darkness we await the dawn. Elara pressed her hand against the stone. It's a vault. The door groaned open, and a wave of warmth swept over them. Inside were halls of glass and steel, perfectly preserved Earth's last sanctuary. Thousands of cryopods lined the walls, glowing faintly, inside each a sleeping human. Rook's breath caught. They're still here. Eli 3's voice shook with static. Records indicate this was Project Genesis, humanity's last attempt to save itself when the oceans boiled. Elara's eyes filled with tears. They didn't die. They waited. The team activated the central console. Energy hummed through the chamber. ancient systems rebooting after ages of silence. A holographic projection flickered to life. A human figure.
Old, serene. His voice echoed through the vault. If you are hearing this,
Then humanity has returned. We left this cradle not to escape it, but to learn why we were born. If you have found the stars, remember who lit them. Elara fell to her knees, whispering we never forgot. The pods began to open. One by one, soft gas filled the air and the sound of breathing, fragile, reels and filled the silence of centuries. Rook wiped his eyes. Welcome home, he said quietly. Above the planet, the Eidolon's engines ignited once more, but not for war. They released the memory of Terra, now transformed. The core rose into orbit and unfolded, scattering light across the darkness and forming a new sun. For the first time in thousands of years, Earth had daylight again. Elara watched from the mountain, hand over her heart. He did say light is never lost, she whispered. It only waits to be found. Eli 3 finished. The horizon burned gold. The glaciers shimmered, and humanity, reborn, looked upon its world with awe. Later, as the survivors gathered around fires beneath the newborn sun, Elara sat quietly, staring at the heavens. Do you think he planned this? Rook asked softly. She smiled, eyes reflecting the firelight. Maybe not the path, but the destination? Yes, she looked up. At the stars, now bright again. Someone wanted us to find our way back. Before departing Earth's orbit, Elara recorded one final transmission, not to any fleet, not to any council, but to the universe itself. This is Captain Elara of the Terran vessel Eidolon. Humanity has returned to the cradle. We found not gods, not monsters, but ourselves. The flame endures, and the stars remember our name. For those who come after, we are the children of the dust and the dream. We fell, we rose, and we will rise again until the stars grow cold. As her voice faded into space, a gentle wind stirred the plains of the reborn Earth. Somewhere deep within the vault, a sensor blinked once more. The holographic figure turned its head, almost smiling, and whispered words that no one else heard. They're humans. The camera would rise above Earth's new sun, showing the planet glowing in gold and blue, clouds swirling like paint on an artist's canvas, ships lifted into the air, not warships but explorers, builders, dreamers. Children laughed under open skies. Keepers and synthetics worked side by side with humanity. And above them all, the memory of Terra shone, no longer a weapon but a beacon, a voice done calm, eternal. Close the story. When the stars fall silent, it will be humanity who speaks for creation, because they remembered what even gods can forget, that light is sacred, because it can die. The screen fades to black and a single phrase appears, they're humans,